Good afternoon, everyone. Is everyone ready for the next session? It'll be hard to follow Gemma as a moderator, but I'll do my best. Our next session is focusing on marketing to the modern Muslim traveler, and we have a wonderful set of panelists here joining us, and to whom I'll introduce you to right now. So our first panelist is Mr. Rianto Sofyan, and he's chairman of the team for accelerated development of halal tourism, the Ministry of Tourism in Indonesia. And he'll be giving a very brief presentation on Indonesia's target markets and their marketing strategies. And then next we have Said Irfan Ajmal. He's a digital marketer, and he's specializing in content marketing, media relations, and search engine optimization. And next to Ajmal, we'll be learning from Said Irfan a lot of. Sorry, we need a mic fix. Thank you. We'll be learning from him techniques for digital marketing and how to market halal travel brands better in a very cost-effective way. Next is Mohsin Tutla, who is chairman of the World Hajj and Umrah Convention, and it's coming up actually next week in London, and we'll hear from him in terms of how to interact with governments and high-level individuals and how to get them on board supporting your cause. And last but not least, we have Shaji Abu Saleh he's the area director, sales and business strategies from Shaja Hotels. Shaza Hotels, that's a tongue twister, Shaji from Shaza. And we'll learn from him how Shaza is targeting the modern Muslim traveler and how they're addressing their needs and marketing to them. Okay, so briefly, I'd like to present to you findings from a presentation that Dinar Standard conducted on social media listening. And this was part of the State of the Global Islamic Economy report that Dinar Standard collaborated with Thomson Reuters to produce last year. It involved a 6-week period of social media listening focused on millennials, so individuals aged 18 to 34, and we focused on their interactions on Facebook. We registered almost 700,000 social media interactions related to the different sectors of the Islamic economy. Of those, 100,000 were halal travel related. And that's in terms of social media listening. We also tracked mentions on top halal travel sites, and we tracked a total of 6,649 mentions, of which 1,587 were halal travel related. And the mentions were on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. In terms of demographic breakdown, so there was a lot of interaction from Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh. Those were the top countries, and those interactions were mostly related to Hajj and Umrah. And also on the top 10 were the US, Indonesia, and the UK. And now males dominated those interactions with representing 72%, and females represented 27%. And the male dominance was globally, but specifically also in Southeast Asia. And then we analyzed sentiment, whether it was positive, negative, or neutral. So overall it was positive, so it was 78% positive sentiment, 16% was neutral, and 6% was negative, which is an improvement from last year. The negative sentiment was 25%. So this shows there is more of optimism in relation to discussing halal travel related topics. And you can see by topic that most of the topics discussed the most were related to Hajj, Umrah, and religion-related themes. And for these topics, the sentiment was mostly positive. in terms of terminology, for the mentions, and those are related to top media, to top pages actually on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So top pages. Some of the topics that were the keywords actually discussed were related to Muslim friendly, halal friendly, and Islamic friendly. And it's important for us as marketers to know that these were some of the keywords that were used, and this is the terminology, because sometimes we're not sure which terminology we should use. So it's interesting to look at these numbers. And then in terms of keywords that were used, a lot of them were related to Hajj and Umrah and religious related keywords. Now, this slide shows the social media accounts and the most active in which halal travel was discussed. And it's interesting to note that none of these accounts belong to influencers, male or female travel bloggers, for example. From the brands, we have, for example, Halal Trip, Crescent Rating, and Halal Booking are among the top. But then we also have mainstream media sites that are discussing Muslim travel, but they're discussing it from a different perspective. They're discussing it from a perspective of Muslims traveling. And this was a brief presentation on social media listening that Dinar Standard conducted. Next, I'd ask Mr. Rianto Sufyan to provide a brief presentation on Indonesia in terms of halal tourism and what they're targeting.
Thank you, Sister Rim. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this, my presentation will be the sharing some thoughts and experience on how Indonesia targeted the Muslim travelers market. First of all, let me begin you with the overview of our country. Indonesia is the world's largest archipelago. It's spread about 5,000 kilometers from east to west, so it's about 6 to 7 hours flight. And then about 2,000 kilometers from north to south is about 2.5 hours flight. And then we are also the world's fourth largest population in the world, with over 260 million people. 88% of them are Muslim. In short, we are rich in nature's beauty and sceneries, also rich in culture and heritage. We have more than 300 distinct ethnicities, and of course, halal lifestyle is in our DNA. Muslim travelers actually is a more diverse market. It's not homogeneous. It depends on where they come from, the region they come from. Mostly will be divided into Middle East, Europe, and Asia Pacific. And then also depends on demographic. It's whether they are Generation X or millennials, young couples with children, a multi-generation family, and also based on their income, low, middle, and upper. And of course, the travel purposes, whether it's for leisure, for visiting friends, family, religious, others, and of course, business. In the case of Indonesia, we are targeting three main markets, which is the Middle East, and North Africa, Europe, and Asia Pacific. For the practical purposes, we identify their preferences, and then we match for the destination for the preferences, and of course we also identify the accommodation needs, culinary option, and channel of distribution or marketing. As one of the example for the Middle East Muslim travelers, their preferences will be the natures and sceneries, resort, mountain, beach, and spas, and of course shopping. And for this preferences, we offer Lombok, Mandalika, where Saji is going to build the hotel, the Saza Hotel, 5-star hotels. And then Of course, Jakarta, we have 300 malls, more than 300 malls, and West Sumatra. And then the second one for Europe, for example, they like the sightseeing, shopping, natures, scenery, and then Islamic heritage and adventures. For this, we pick the destination is Aceh, West Sumatra, and of course also Lombok and Mandalika. And for Asia Pacific, their preferences will be the sightseeing, shopping, culture, Islamic heritage, nature and scenery. We offer them Jakarta and West Java also, Aceh and West Java. Of course, for the experience, the unique experience that they can have in the destination they preferred, we assembled halal tour packages, and then to give a unique and a specific experience. So I think that's all. We look forward and welcome you to Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Rian.
Thank you.
Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me okay? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Rianto, for the wonderful presentation. And I should mention that Dinar Standard actually developed a marketing strategy for Indonesia focused on halal tourism and focusing on these pairing of destinations, source countries with destinations, and focusing on influencer marketing, working with influencers, digital marketing, and campaigns, social media campaigns, as well as grassroots marketing. Now let's start asking some questions to the panelists, and I'll start with our digital marketer. So Arfan, as a digital marketer focused on content marketing, what do you feel halal travel brands are doing wrong in terms of content marketing, and what's your advice?
Thanks very much. Can everyone hear me okay? Right. So, I mean, I'm sure there are, in fact, I know there are a lot of halal brands which are doing very well. But some of the brands which I think where they, mess up is, being too promotional. As one of the research studies by Dinar Standard from last year has found, between 41 to 47% of halal travelers, they actually go online on social media or on blogs in order to find information. So when I say information, that means that halal brands have to work more on creating informational content rather than promotional and salesy content. So, for example, videos, even audio content is on the rise with the progress made by Google and Amazon within voice search and all that. So I think that's definitely something that halal brands can do better with and have better results.
Thank you very much. I'll come back to you with more questions on digital marketing because we all want to pick your brain and find out what are the best practices. But let me move to Mohsin. So Mohsin, you've successfully launched a Hajj and Umrah convention that now is a must-attend event for governments as well as industry players. How did what was your approach in terms of gaining the trust of governments in order for them to pay attention to your event? And I'm hoping that we can learn from this for other travel brands as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be related to event organization.
I mean, most governments, they're responsible to the people that they serve. And what we've found is that we have to do two things for our government. Either inspire them or basically show that there's a desperation for some change that needs to be applied. When you want any decision maker to move, I generally try to show three things that I can achieve for them. One, how to achieve efficiencies, saving them money. Two, how to expedite progress. But the third one is extremely key for every decision maker. How do I empower you as an individual? How do I connect you with those that will benefit you? So a decision maker, when they reach a certain level, what they look at is it's not about what I know, it's about who I know and what do they know. And building those relationships allows us to operate much more effectively. So when we show that value to governments, they will actually move. But the thing that you really do need to focus on is how do you persuade someone to move? So there's a formula for that. So those three parameters are logic, credibility, and empathy. The stronger those values are, the stronger you're able to connect, the greater credibility that you're able to show, the more they are willing to align with you.
And I feel that translates well to individuals as well, not just governments.
You
know,
just need
empathy.
a higher value set
Yeah.
for governments. They're a lot
Yeah.
more analytical.
Interesting. Now moving on to Shaji from Shaza. So how does Shaza Hotels position itself in terms of Muslim travelers? What is the positioning that it focuses on?
Thank you, Reem. Shaza Hotels actually are the first movers in this industry of halal tourism. Unlike many players right now in the hospitality industry who serve to the Muslim travelers, Shaza was, or the story of Shaza was born in 2007, targeting this niche potential clientele. It was formed just for the halal travelers. So if you ask me the positioning, I don't find, in a humble way, I don't want to be arrogant, but I'm just saying we don't have a competition in the space where we are in the terms of luxury, the product offerings, or the experiences crafted around a halal traveler's needs and requirements. We don't prototype our hotel saying we are a dry hotel. Very unfortunately, the current scenario in hotels are they build a hotel based on the owner's discretion of remaining dry because he doesn't want the earnings from a non-halal product, or he doesn't want an earning from alcohol-based business. Most of the hotels are born out of a owner's need, and then they find to try to reach the dots, connect the dots, and find a space in the halal spectrum. While we are born for the halal spectrum, we are created out of this halal spectrum. You invest halal, earn halal, and practice the halal. So that's a simple definition I could give for Shaza Hotels. Now, talking about the modern Muslim traveler, which I put in myself as like a millennial travelers or whatever the new generation X, Y travelers, there's a huge movement of travelers in the world looking for their faith-based needs, but doesn't want to compromise the quality of life they're enjoying. They don't want to limit themselves into a prototype or stereotype of Muslim faith-based hotels, but they want a facility or a service or an experience like anybody else. Meanwhile, they can practice their religion and they can live with their family or themselves in an environment where they can be comfortable and they can stay close to their cultures and values. So that's what Shaza is all about.
Yes, and that makes absolute sense. I see some brands who are just starting out who think they have to be overly religious, and especially brands who are not immersed in the halal tourism culture but are new to it. They feel their messaging has to be overly religious to target this market, but in essence, like it was mentioned in the previous sessions, Muslim travelers just want to be doing what everyone else is doing,
Exactly.
but in a halal way.
Just to add to that, it's very unfortunate, as I said earlier, some of the brands find an opportunity for those investors who want to invest in halal. But they don't have the courage to say that we are attracting halal travelers. They're trying to walk around the whole halal spectrum without saying we are for the halal spectrum. I don't know why they have that confident level to say we are targeting this market. They feel if you are targeting this market, you're going to lose other markets.
Yes.
I don't believe in that strategy. Why? Because an airline flying out of Middle East is offering Hindu meal, Muslim meal, kosher meal. What is the percentage of kosher? faith in this world, but still they're providing a values benefit. So be specific and target in volume communication, which is not happening, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. Just be inclusive.
Yeah.
So back to Brother Rianto, I'd like to ask you, in terms of, you mentioned the source market and target destination tailoring, and so how is your marketing strategy tailored to each of the source markets that you mentioned?
Okay. Of course, we are targeting to three main areas: origin of Muslim travelers, which is the Middle East, and then Europe and Asia Pacific, and with their preferences. But in promoting, I think we have like branding on how to reach the Muslim travelers with their preferences, and then advertising, and of course the selling activities. And the other one will be the media strategy. Media strategy we will do it through our own media, paid media, own media, social media, and endorsers.
Okay, great. And I'd like to follow that up with a question to our digital marketer. So how do you feel brands can use digital marketing? How do you feel it's more effective than conventional marketing? At least it's more cost effective, but is it more effective? And can you elaborate?
Yeah, sure. So it's a great question. So let's say I will start with I will answer the question with a short example. If you're a halal brand and you purchase ad space on a large billboard, so or you go for a more cost-effective solution where you are putting your ad in a magazine or something like that, or even Facebook ad. So what happens is that excluding the Facebook ad, because that's part of digital marketing, the other options are not very not very focused. The billboard that you have in on a large building, you might be focusing on female travelers, but there must be a lot of men and children going down that building as well. So with digital marketing, with Facebook ads or Google ads or content marketing and all that, your approach and your focus is very much targeted. And the second best thing is that you can also test different approaches very quickly and very cost effectively. So for instance, if you have a website and you shouldn't just put a video on your homepage just because all the other brands in your industry are doing it. Always test your own data irrespective of what conventional wisdom or the industry research reports are saying. So you can very cheaply and very economically do A/B split testing on your website, where if you have 1,000 visitors coming to your website every day, show half of them your video homepage banner, and for the other half show a cinemagraph or a banner, to see which one converts better. And then even in terms of conversion, you have to go deep, you have to do a deep dive and do a multi-level testing. So for instance, you can find out, okay, this ad converts better, but the lifetime value of this, this subscriber base is actually shorter for whatever the reason.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, interesting. And very, very important about targeting. And now we have that ability within digital marketing. We have the ability to, for example, on Facebook ads, to target specifically by gender, by location, by interest, by so many things. You can target by those following your competitor's page, for example. So yeah, absolutely.
And if I could just add, even with respect to if you are not using any online ads, even within the realms of content marketing and SEO, you can actually legally and ethically spy on your competitors. For instance, you can find out what's your competitor, what are the partnerships they have, or where are they getting their promotion from, what kind of their content is getting more promotion and more attention, and then you can go on and create something better in the same format or in a different format.
How can you elaborate a little bit on? I know we have very limited, a few minutes left, but can you briefly elaborate on how you can spy on your competitors?
Sure. So I mean, like for instance, let's say you're focusing on young single female travelers, okay, So, you can go to BuzzSumo, for instance, or Ahrefs Content Explorer. Both tools are very similar. And you can find out what are the content pieces that are going viral right now. So if I can give a very quick example, Hootsuite is a social media scheduling tool. And what they did was that they came up with a video which was basically called Game of Social Thrones. And they released it right around the time when Game of Thrones was getting released, the new season. And it got like, just one of their videos got like over 1 million views so far.
Very interesting, very interesting. So switching to another topic, Mohsen, before the session you mentioned to me that you moved to Saudi Arabia because of the potential that you see there from the Vision 2030 and their focus on the halal travel segment in general, not just on religious tourism. So how do you see Saudi Arabia repositioning itself in terms of tourism in general, halal tourism and tourism, not religious tourism?
Right now, Saudi Arabia is very much focused on enriching experiences for everyone that comes to Saudi Arabia. They have a very clear understanding of who their visitors are and what their scope of their visitors are. One of the things that they've done is that they've created a very clear vision. And those visions are backed up by very solid figures and numbers and strategies behind them. So, for example, Saudi Arabia has said that the Umrah market, they want to grow that from 8 million to 30 million within a period of 12 years. That is a 300 to 400% increase. That's number one. But the airport itself that they're developing in Saudi Arabia, they're looking to increase the capacity from 16 million visitors to 80 million visitors within the next 12 to 15 years. So they've got some strategies behind to say that there's definitely going to be growth there. They've got a vision, they've got a passion. What they've managed to do is by assessing the key qualities of the country is to develop new value. And how they've developed that new value is that how do you combine area of tourism and areas of spirituality targeting the modern Muslim traveler. So there is a very conscious traveler within the Muslim community that says that I would like to take a holiday, but I'm responsible for the money that I spend. That responsibility says that how do I answer to my creator how I spend my money. So a lot of people, they believe that if we travel to a country like Saudi Arabia, where we have committed ourselves to an act of spirituality or worship, we have clear justification. At the same time, they are looking for self-fulfillment. So from Europe, we have a culture that we will take a holiday once a year for 2 weeks. The question comes, where's the destination? Saudi Arabia now is creating that value. They've categorized that in Hajj and Umrah. This is Mecca.
Yeah.
You have Ziyarah, which is Medina, and now you have Saudi tourism, which is everything outside of that. But they will be catering for the Muslim values as phase one. But they are also very interested to create a culture of inclusiveness, which means that we want the rest of the world to come because they want to demonstrate and show the wonderful culture that they have to the broader world, the broader community. From that, I see extreme amount of potential. So this is why I would move to Saudi Arabia, to be involved in something at a very early stage, to contribute something, to develop something so fantastic as that.
Thank you, Mohsen, for sharing that. I think we have time for one last question. So, Shaji, wanted to ask you which marketing programs have you felt had the most success when it comes to targeting the modern Muslim travelers, and in general, does Shaza tailor its messaging to Muslim travelers, or is it the same message to everyone? If you can elaborate on that.
Shaza's communication is always targeted to our own niche clientele, which is the Muslim travelers, definitely. When you talk about the modern traveler or the millennial traveler, Shaza was formed for those well-traveled, sophisticated travelers going to experience the luxury epitome in different cities. While we were deploying our efforts in developing Shaza hotels, we found there's a huge opportunity in the hospitality space for those millennials. And that's the reason we came up with our second brand called Misk. Misk is for those young Muslim travelers who doesn't want to pay for extra for the frills. To target them is exactly as my colleague said, we target them to digital space where they are mostly active.
Yes.
We have a very clear vision in our brand that we don't spend money on the print media. We target and develop content marketing, and we spend all our marketing dollars into the digital space. Now, as you said, are you targeting really just for the Muslim travelers? No. Our communication is based on creating that individualism for those Muslim travelers, feel a belonging next to the brand, because when they see our communications, our ads, our creatives, they feel they belong to that space. Meanwhile, we target the non-halal travelers as well to come and experience the product and see what kind of lifestyle offerings we are providing from our House of Shaza. Either it may be Shaza or Misk. We are opening our first resort, a complete halal-friendly resort in Salalah in a couple of months. We are coming to Bali to open our first halal experience in the city of Bali. And we are not just focusing that to fill the hotel with pure Muslim travelers. It's like halal want to be experienced by Muslims. Maybe it's a choice, it's a kind of attraction to a non-Muslim traveler to see what is happening in that space, to have a retreat experience. Maybe they come there for their spa, which is standing on an Arabian culture, the food, or even the whole story that each hotel has to say is completely different for them. So they can experience a different experience in that context of the city where we belong to. So our messages are not directly for Muslim traveler, but we speak on the context of our values, our culture, and the demography of the place where we are based out to, or where we are reaching out to.
Okay, thank you, Shaji, and thank you, everyone. I think that's all we have time for. I hope you enjoyed the panelists. Certainly, it was very beneficial to me, and I felt we got the perspective of a destination, digital marketer, someone from conference organizer, and with a lot of perspective on Saudi Arabia, and then a hotel brand. So we were able to get the perspective from different points of view and different angles. And we'll be here after the session if anyone would like to come up to us, or you have any questions, we'll be here. And I'll hand it over to Gemma again for the next session. Thank you very much.